What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk about Marvel every single day, and the X-Men production at Marvel Studios seems to be ramping up in a really big way. But this makes a lot of sense if you consider that the X-Men movie might come out right after Secret Wars to start off the new saga of the MCU, which Kevin Feige has already deemed as the mutant era. And Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, has already explained that anything that they have officially announced to the public, they have 5 to 10 years more planned after that. And of course, we know the end of the multiverse saga is Avengers Secret Wars, which means after Avengers Secret Wars, they have at least another 5 years planned coming. And it sounds like the new X-Men movie, in which they already have a writer and possibly director for as well, or directors, I should say, it sounds like that movie is coming very quickly, pretty much right after Secret Wars. So it makes sense that we're getting a lot of X-Men news from insiders right now. We're going to continue to get X-Men news, so if you want to stay up to date, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of it. And we have some interesting casting news today, not just for the X-Men, but also for Richard Rider, aka Nova, coming to the MCU in the next saga as well. Now, when I mentioned the X-Men film could already have a director or directors, I was referring to the report from Daniel RPK not too long ago that stated Marvel Studios locked in a new deal with the Russo brothers to stay on past Avengers Secret Wars and direct some of the newer projects that are coming in the mutant saga, including the X-Men film. And if that ends up being true, then the X-Men project is a lot further along than we actually realize. They have a writer, they have the directors for it. They are now casting for it, or at least looking for the actors that they think would make really great characters in the MCU as the X-Men, and then they're going to meet with them and see if they fit. And this timeline really does work out because Avengers Secret Wars is going to start filming in the UK in 2026, next year, and they might start filming the X-Men next year as well, late next year. So again, if this is the case, the timeline does seem to work out. They are getting everything in order to start filming, I would say, at the end of 2026, beginning of 2027. And if you think about that, it's really not that far away. So things are really heating up for the X-Men, and we just heard a new rumor about who could possibly be playing Cyclops in the MCU. Now, we heard a rumor the other day about another actor Marvel could be eyeing, but this is a different one coming from the insider Jeff Snyder from the Snyder. And he's been pretty accurate when it's come to scoops very recently. And he stated that Harris Dickinson is being considered for the role of Cyclops in the upcoming X-Men reboot film. He's been in a fair amount of projects, and I'd say he's done a pretty good job in the projects that he's in. He has been in The King's Man. He was in The Iron Claw, A Murder at the End of the World, which was a series. He was in Baby Girl, Blitz, and he was in Maleficent in 2019. And go ahead and let me know what you think right away about him possibly playing Cyclops. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think he has a good look to play the character? I actually think that he does have a good look to play the character. I actually think I prefer him over Jack Champion, who was the other person rumored to be eyed by Marvel Studios to possibly play Cyclops, so he's in the running. But out of the two of them, I think Harris Dickinson has the better look for Cyclops overall, but go ahead, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, Jeff Snyder also reported that Marvel Studios is eyeing Sadie Sink to play Jean Grey. So these two, in theory, would be our couple, Scott and Jean. So you also would have to imagine if Harris Dickinson and Sadie Sink look good together as well as Cyclops and the Phoenix. Also last week, insider My Time to Shine Hello stated that Marvel Studios is eyeing the former Thunderbolt star Ayo Edebiri as Storm. Now, this is a very interesting report because it's very clear that Marvel Studios likes her. She was already cast for a role in the Thunderbolts. She was going to play Erin, who was going to be Valentina Allegra de Fontaine's assistant. And unfortunately, her and Steven Yeun had to drop out of the movie due to scheduling conflicts. But Marvel Studios already cast her for a role, so they clearly like her. Plus, not to mention, she has worked for Disney before as well. She was just recently in Inside Out 2 in 2024. And I will say, she is actually in very good physical shape, which I do think matters for Storm. But go ahead and let us know what you think about this casting choice in the comments down below. Now we have another casting report coming from Jeff Snyder at the Snyder about Richard Rider, aka Nova. And it's not anybody that has been previously mentioned. It's not Ryan Gosling. We have a lot of new updates, and a lot is happening in real life as well. and I know it can be really hard to follow the news, especially if you want unbiased opinions, which is why I'd like to tell you about Straight Arrow News, my partners and sponsors for today's video. Staying up to date with all the important events and pieces of news going on in the world is overwhelming. And with good reason, especially right now in time of media bias and mistrust. It's tough to know what the truth is. That's why I've been using Straight Arrow News to find out what is really going on. Straight Arrow News is an app and website that's an unbiased news source that specializes in reliable, fact-based news. Not only are they unbiased, but they also have a media miss tool that will tell you how much each side is covering certain events. It'll tell you if the left isn't covering something the right is covering, or if the right isn't covering something the left is. And it'll also tell you if both sides are covering an event the same. This allows everyone to get the full picture of what is going on, rather than having to trust a biased news source. Ever since the election, I use Straight Arrow News now more than ever to see what's really going on. And it's been eye-opening to see how much bias is in the media. So I'm grateful for Straight Arrow News, and you can go to san.com/cosmic to check it out, or click the link in my description. When you visit, you're not only supporting the channel, but you're also supporting a group of journalists that are raising the bar on news and focusing on serving you the truth. A Nova series is confirmed to be coming by Marvel Studios. They have been working on it for quite a bit now, and casting is well underway for this. We know that they were looking at Ryan Gosling to possibly play Nova, but it looks like Disney has met with Ryan Gosling about a lot of different roles that he could play in the Marvel universe. It's said that he could possibly play Ghost Rider in the MCU, but also we do know that he is in negotiations right now to be the main star of Sean Levy's Star Wars film. So clearly Disney loves him, but they're looking at a different role for him, not Nova anymore, it sounds like. And Jeff Snyder says that Brandon Sklinner is reportedly on the short list to be Nova in the MCU. He was recently in the sort of controversial movie Now It Ends With Us. Fortunately, he wasn't really involved in the drama. It was between Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and of course Blake Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, who we know as Deadpool, of course. So he does kind of have an in there with Marvel Studios through Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, who was reportedly on the set of that film a lot. But Brendan Sklinner is 34 years old, which means they're most likely going for an older version of Richard Rider, which also makes sense if you consider they were looking at Ryan Gosling as well, and he is 44 years old currently. And based on what we've heard the plot for the series is going to be, it makes sense. It sounds like Annihilus is going to be the main villain of the series and then go on to be kind of a big bad of the MCU in general, but Marvel Studios seems to be taking the Annihilation event from the comics, and essentially they're going to put a part of that, kind of the beginning of that, in the Nova series. And Richard Rider is an older Richard Rider during that event. And that event is awesome. It's one of the best events from Marvel Comics, and it is a more serious, more mature and intense story. Like, it's an all-out war. And in that story is actually when we see Thanos take Drax's daughter, and Drax actually ends up killing Thanos in that story. You also have Galactus and the Silver Surfer and former Heralds of Galactus joining the fight. Also in this, Gamora and Nova are together, and Star-Lord is there too, but Nova and Gamora are together. It's a very interesting story. It's really great, and adapting this story in the MCU is going to open up a lot of possibilities to tell a lot of really great stories from Marvel Comics. But the best thing about hearing all of this news is that we know Marvel Studios is clearly working on Phase 7 now, because based off of everything that we know, the X-Men project and the Nova project are coming in the beginning of Phase 7. And that would be quite a way to start off the next saga of the MCU. Right away, we go in with an X-Men film, and then you introduce a character that a lot of people really love, Nova, along with a really huge villain, Annihilus. Not a bad way to start the MCU. Plus, it's been rumored, and I don't know how much credibility there is to this rumor going around, that Mr. Sinister could be one of the first X-Men villains. Take that with a grain of salt. We don't really know for sure about that. But either way, the next saga of the MCU is already shaping up to be pretty epic, and we're going to start to learn more and more about these Phase 7 projects as we get closer to 2026. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos updating you about Phase 7. Please don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and you can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.